Welcome back to another exciting episode from Stamps Old World UK, where we dive deep into the rich and fascinating world of vintage stamps, rare postal treasures, and the true value they hold in today's market. Today, we're taking a close look at the current market value of rare stamps across the globe and how these small paper artifacts continue to fetch thousands, and sometimes millions, of dollars at auctions and private sales. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started with stamp collecting, this episode will give you incredible insight into how valuable certain stamps can be in the present-day stamp market, especially in US dollars. Now, let's talk about what makes a stamp valuable. It's not just age, although that certainly helps. The value of a stamp depends on several factors, including its rarity, historical significance, demand among collectors, printing errors, condition, and sometimes even the story behind it. For example, stamps from the 19th century, such as the penny black, the two-penny blue, or rare overprinted issues from colonial territories, are immensely sought after today. A stamp like the penny black, the world's first adhesive postage stamp used in a public postal system, continues to hold value depending on its plate number and condition. In today's market, a clean penny black in good condition can sell anywhere between $300 to $3,000. But a flawless one with rare corner letters or a specific plate number might easily go beyond $5,000 in auctions. Let's move on to a stamp that has made headlines across the globe, the British Guiana 1C Magenta. This stamp is considered the most valuable in the world and has been sold multiple times, each time breaking records. In 2021, it was sold at auction for over $8.3 million. This shows that while the stamp itself is small, its worth can be massive. The 1C Magenta is unique because it is the only known copy in existence. Its value is not only in rarity but also in the attention it draws from the world's top collectors and museums. If you're lucky enough to find a rare print or one-of-a-kind stamp in your collection, you might be holding a fortune without even realizing it. Now let's bring it back to the UK. Some Victorian-era stamps, such as the 1842 penny blue, fetch prices upwards of $1,000 to $10,000 depending on their condition and cancellation marks. Meanwhile, error stamps, such as the famous 1963 UK Missing Queen's Head error, have fetched as much as $50,000 to $100,000. Collectors often hunt for stamps with printing mistakes, misaligned perforations, color shifts, or missing prints, because their rarity makes them extremely valuable. Some of these stamps are sold quietly in private auctions or even found in forgotten boxes in people's attics. That's why it's so important to carefully examine any old stamp you come across. You might be holding something extremely rare. Even modern stamps can carry surprising value if they're misprinted or part of a limited run. For example, certain US airmail stamps, like the inverted Jenny from 1918, continue to command staggering prices. The last known sale of a single inverted Jenny was for more than $750,000. These high values prove that stamps are not just relics of the past, but living treasures whose value grows with time and collector demand. And don't overlook common-looking stamps from your childhood. If they come from a limited issue or are in mint condition with the original gum, their value can be several times higher than face value. For example, British commemorative stamps from the 1960s, such as the first Concorde flight or the Royal Silver wedding set, can be valued at over $100 in mint condition. Meanwhile, some lesser-known stamps from colonies like India, Mauritius, or Australia from the early 20th century are quietly rising in value, with many now selling for $500 to $5,000 depending on rarity and print variety. In today's global market, the demand for rare stamps is actually increasing. Wealthy collectors from countries like China, India, the United States, and the Middle East are fueling a renewed interest in philately, which is the technical term for stamp collecting. This demand is driving up prices for rare stamps and increasing competition at major auction houses like Sotheby's, Christie's, and Spink. Online auction platforms have also made it easier for collectors to bid on stamps worldwide. A simple stamp listed on eBay for $10 might receive multiple bids and eventually sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars if it turns out to be a rare variety. Now let's talk about how you can determine the value of your own stamps in dollars today. First, always check the condition. A mint condition stamp with no creases, full gum, and perfect centering will always sell for more than a used stamp. Second, research the rarity. Use online stamp catalogs such as the Stanley Gibbons, Scott Catalog, or Michel Catalog to check issue numbers and valuation ranges. Third, check for any printing errors or unusual features. If your stamp looks different from the usual design, you may have a valuable misprint on your hands. Lastly, consult with a certified philatelic expert or get your stamp professionally graded. This will give you an accurate idea of its market value in today's competitive market. So if you've ever thought that stamp collecting is just a hobby for the past, think again. The stamp market is alive and thriving. From casual collectors to serious investors, people are realizing that stamps can be both a passion and a profitable asset. Some stamps can be worth thousands or even millions of dollars depending on what you have. The key is knowledge, patience, and an eye for rare finds. If you have a stamp collection tucked away in your home, now is the time to take a second look. Next up, the modern-day market value of rare and historic stamps, converted into US dollars. This is not just a tale of paper and ink, but a deep dive into the emotional, historical, and financial value that stamps carry in 2025. Whether you're a long-time collector, someone who inherited a mysterious box of stamps, or just starting out in philately, today's video will give you the clearest insight into how valuable stamps can be right now, and how to know if the stamps in your possession could be worth a small fortune. Let's begin with a powerful truth: not all stamps are created equal. Some stamps were mass-produced and now live in millions of forgotten albums, while others were printed in limited quantities, withdrawn due to errors, or preserved in pristine condition. These differences make all the difference. In today's global market, stamp collecting is not only a hobby, but also a serious investment strategy for collectors and investors alike. With inflation and uncertain economic trends, many collectors are returning to tangible assets, and rare stamps are one of the most historically stable and appreciating investments. From museum-quality pieces to everyday errors, the stamp market is booming, with some rare stamps now selling for tens of thousands, even millions, of dollars in top auction houses and private sales. To understand why a small piece of paper can be worth so much, we must travel back in time. The penny black, issued in 1840 in the United Kingdom, was the world's first adhesive postage stamp. Today, the value of a single penny black varies drastically depending on its condition, plate number, and centering. A used penny black with somewhere may only be worth $200 to $400. However, a mint-condition penny black with the right corner lettering and a rare plate number, especially plate 11, can sell for anywhere from $5,000 to over $15,000. And if you think that's impressive, just consider the 2 penny blue or the penny red error stamps, which can fetch even higher prices if they have uncommon features or are well preserved. Among the most famous and valuable stamps of all time is the British Guiana 1C Magenta, a unique specimen, printed in 1856, and the only one of its kind known to exist. It's often referred to as the Mona Lisa of the stamp world. This stamp was sold in 2021 for over $8.3 million, breaking all previous records and confirming the global passion for rare philatelic artifacts. It is currently housed under tight security, and its value is expected to appreciate even further in the coming decades. It's a clear reminder that a stamp can be more than a collectible; it can be a legacy, an investment, and a cultural treasure. But you don't need a one-of-a-kind piece to strike gold. Many high-value stamps today are valuable because of printing errors, color shifts, inverted images, or omitted details. For example, the famous inverted Jenny from the United States, a 1918 airmail stamp featuring a misprinted upside-down airplane, has sold for over $750,000 at auction. Only 100 of these were ever discovered. A similar British error, the 1963 missing Queen's Head stamp, where Queen Elizabeth II's silhouette is absent, has been valued at over $100,000 in top condition. These examples prove that mistakes in the printing process can sometimes become the most prized possessions in a collector's album. Now let's look at colonial and Commonwealth stamps, which are gaining more attention in today's market. Early stamps from British colonies such as Mauritius, India, Hong Kong, and Australia are seeing sharp increases in value. The 1847 Mauritius Post Office stamp, for example, has been known to sell for over $1 million. Meanwhile, rare overprints from British East Africa or early Indian stamps with error markings are now worth between $1,000 and $50,000 depending on rarity and preservation. Many collectors in the United Kingdom have these stamps in family collections without even realizing their potential worth in today's dollar-based global market. Condition is another key factor that significantly influences a stamp's value. A mint-condition stamp, especially one with its original gum intact, sharp corners, and no creases, will always fetch a higher price than a used or damaged stamp. Philatelists use grading terms such as fine, very fine, or superb to describe a stamp's appearance and value potential. And yes, even the cancellation mark on a used stamp can make a difference. A lightly cancelled stamp from the Victorian era, if clear and neat, is far more valuable than one that is heavily smudged or damaged. Collectors often pay extra for clean cancellations that don't obscure the design or reduce the stamp's aesthetic appeal. Beyond historical value, stamps are also gaining traction as financial assets. Top investment firms and private collectors now buy rare stamps for wealth preservation, much like they would with rare coins, gold, or fine art. This trend has boosted prices even further. In 2025, global stamp auctions are seeing record participation and bidding wars. Collectors from the United States, China, Germany, the UAE, and the UK are all competing for rare finds. With such demand and limited supply, especially for 19th and early 20th century stamps, the prices are unlikely to fall anytime soon. The best part is that new discoveries are still being made. Sometimes a rare and valuable stamp is found in a forgotten drawer or inside an old book passed down through generations. Let's not forget the importance of proper evaluation. If you think you might have a valuable stamp, it is crucial to have it appraised by a professional. Visit a certified philatelist. Join a philatelic society, or consult global catalogs such as Stanley Gibbons, Scott, or Michel. These resources list thousands of stamps along with estimated values, images, and market trends. They can help you identify plate numbers, watermarks, variations, and even forgeries. It's also wise to have your stamps authenticated and graded by a trusted third party before selling. The difference between an ungraded stamp and one with an official grade can be thousands of dollars in value. As we reach the end of this in-depth exploration, remember that stamps are more than old paper squares. They are tiny time machines that connect us to history, politics, art, and human stories. They represent empires, revolutions, innovations, and even eras that became masterpieces. The stamp market in 2025 is alive and thriving, offering both seasoned and new collectors a world of opportunity, discovery, and financial reward. Whether you're investing in a penny black, tracking down a printing error, or simply organizing an inherited collection, you are part of a global network of collectors who value history in the palm of their hands. Next up, the heart of the stamp collecting world by exploring the current market value of classic British stamps, with a special focus on how these values translate to US dollars today. Whether you're a seasoned collector, a budding enthusiast, or someone considering investing in this timeless hobby, this extended guide is packed with valuable insights, expert evaluations, and real-world pricing strategies to help you understand the true worth of your treasured pieces. The world of stamp collecting is more than just a hobby, it's a global marketplace where history, rarity, and condition intersect to define value. The stamp image you see here, an elegant portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, is one of the most iconic images in philately. Known as the Mackin series, this design has adorned British postage since 1967 and remains one of the most reproduced images in history. However, while many of these stamps are common and affordable, certain variations, errors, and limited-issue prints have grown into highly sought-after collector's items, some of which fetch impressive sums on the open market today. Understanding which versions hold real value is key to navigating this field with confidence. To properly assess the market value of a stamp in today's economy, particularly in terms of US dollars, one must consider several crucial factors. First is rarity, which remains the most influential element in valuation. Stamps that were printed in limited numbers, withdrawn early, or released with errors can be worth many times their face value. Second is condition. Mint condition stamps, especially those that have never been hinged and retain their original gum, command higher prices than used stamps or those with visible wear. Third, centering and perforations also matter significantly. A perfectly centered stamp with evenly spaced margins and clean perforations is more desirable than one that's off-center or torn. Finally, historical and thematic relevance influences value. Stamps associated with significant royal events, anniversaries, or political moments often gain value due to their relevance and symbolic appeal. In practical terms, many Queen Elizabeth II Mackin series stamps used in the UK can still be found for as little as 10 cents to 50 cents USD in the global market, especially when used or lightly cancelled. However, mint, unhinged versions of these stamps in complete sets or pristine condition often retail between $1 and $5, depending on the issue and packaging. The story becomes far more interesting when we explore rare variations, such as the early color trials, dye proofs, or errors in perforation or printing. A classic example is the 1967 trial print in turquoise blue, which was never issued for public use but exists in limited philatelic circles. Depending on provenance and condition, these trial issues have sold at major auctions for anywhere between $200 and $700 per stamp, with some authenticated examples even exceeding $1,000 when sold through renowned auction houses. Now let us take a deeper look at the high-value segment of the market. One of the most exciting areas in philately right now is the resurgence of interest in Queen Elizabeth II-era rarities following her passing and the coronation of King Charles III. This moment in history has driven renewed attention to the stamps of her reign, particularly early issues and color proofs. For example, the rare 1971 Phosphor Trial Mackin, printed in olive gray with imperfect margins, recently sold at an online auction for over $1,200, highlighting how dramatic the price jump can be when a stamp meets the right combination of rarity, timing, and collector interest. But it's not just about individual stamps. Collectors are increasingly drawn to full-year collections, presentation packs, and commemorative booklets. For instance, a complete year set of Mackin stamps from the 1970s, in unmounted mint condition, can now fetch between $150 and $400, especially when accompanied by original packaging or postal documentation. Full booklets featuring plate numbers or rare corner margins can increase in value dramatically, especially if they include printing variations. These booklets, originally worth a few pounds, are now regularly listed for $30, $50, or even $100 plus on international marketplaces like eBay, Delcamp, and in philatelic auction catalogs. Equally important are postmarks and cancellations. In the past, collectors often sought clean and used stamps only. But now, specific cancellations, especially those from historical events like royal weddings, coronations, or first flights, have developed their own collectible niche. A Mackin stamp cancelled on the day of Queen Elizabeth's Silver Jubilee celebration in 1977 might sell for $10 to $30 USD, far more than its typical catalog value. Similarly, stamps with first-day covers bearing rare or foreign postmarks, especially from colonies or British territories, can increase significantly in value. In some cases, used stamps with very unusual or extremely clear cancellations can even surpass the value of mint versions. Another area that is gaining attention is error collecting, a discipline within philately focused on stamps with mistakes in printing, such as missing colors, inverted images, or misaligned perforations. These errors often escape quality control in only a few units before being corrected, which makes them extremely rare. A famous example from the Mackin series is the 1970s error where the Queen's head was printed without the denomination, leading to legal confusion and prompt withdrawal. Only a few copies exist today, and they have sold in the range of $5,000 to $10,000 depending on documentation and condition. Beyond the stamps themselves, presentation matters immensely in the resale value. A well-curated collection, arranged by chronological order, topic, or region, and kept in archival quality albums, can attract significantly more attention from buyers than a random assortment in envelopes or boxes. Collectors appreciate the effort, the organization, and the historical storytelling that comes with a well-assembled collection. Additionally, having stamps certified by recognized authorities, such as the Royal Philatelic Society London or the British Philatelic Association, adds legitimacy and confidence, especially when listing on auction platforms or dealing with international buyers. In today's digital era, online platforms play a huge role in shaping the perceived value of stamps. Websites like eBay, Hipstamp, Delcamp, and Sondafair offer a wide variety of British stamps, and the prices there often serve as real-time indicators of demand. Monitoring these sites can give collectors a sense of what similar stamps are actually selling for, what's known as the realized value, as opposed to catalog estimates, which can sometimes be out of sync with market behavior. For example, while a stamp might be listed in the Stanley Gibbons catalog for £25, it might only sell for $15 on eBay, unless it comes with additional provenance or exceptional quality. So, what does all this mean for collectors and investors today? First, it confirms that British stamps, especially those from the mid to late 20th century, still hold tangible value. While not every stamp will make you rich, careful selection, preservation, and market awareness can create a collection worth thousands of dollars. Second, it reinforces the importance of education. Learning about watermark varieties, gum types, perforation styles, and historical context empowers you to make smarter purchases and avoid overpaying. Lastly, it emphasizes the joy of philately, not just as a financial opportunity, but as a rich, rewarding journey through the visual language of history. As we wrap up this deep dive into current market values, remember this: the true worth of a stamp isn't just in dollars or catalog numbers, it's in the stories it tells, the connections it preserves, and the legacy it leaves behind. Whether your collection is valued at $50 or $50,000, every stamp is a thread in the tapestry of global history. Thank you for joining us on Stamps Old World UK. If you found this video informative and enjoyable, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing it with fellow enthusiasts. Your engagement helps grow this community and allows us to continue exploring the fascinating world of philately. Hit the bell icon to be notified when our next episode is released, where we'll be uncovering some of the rarest Victorian-era stamps ever produced and explaining how to spot fakes from authentic pieces. Until then, keep collecting, keep exploring, and remember, every stamp is a story waiting to be told.